Welcome back to my channel. If this is the first time here, please like and subscribe. This is the new studio, the Yeti microphone 10th anniversary, and the brand new M1 MacBook Air. I'm loving it. I'm using it. I like my little area to do videos, so I just thought I'd share that out. So today I want to talk about an article that I've recently read, and it gave me some hope, but it also gave me pause. I was sort of like, well, why are you saying this after saying this? Why are you sort of backtracking a bit? And it does make me a bit nervous when it comes to Microsoft, Phil Spencer, and their games that are specifically built for single-player, narrative-driven experiences, creating worlds, creating brand new characters that people love. You know, characters that gamers want to stick with through different generations, through different games. And Microsoft has not done that. They haven't really created anything last generation that you really want to stick with. So, for instance, Sony's created Ghost of Tsushima, Horizon Zero Dawn, last generation, and of course those games are going to carry forward to the PlayStation 5 generation because gamers love those characters, they love those worlds, and those were not big risks because when you put the money and you have the talent behind great creative ideas, they're going to resonate with gamers. You just have to trust that you have that talent and you have to cultivate it and you have to support it. So let's get into this article and I'll tell you what I liked and what I did not like. So I'm going to read just a part of this article here, and it says, the concept of games as a service has revolutionized the way interactive entertainment industry works. From the subscriptions introduced by massively multiplayer online adventures such as World of Warcraft, to the seasonal battle passes of current online shooters, we're seeing a huge amount of focus on games that can sustain a lucrative community of players over several years. Now, that word, think about that word for a second. Lucrative community. So the best interest is not to create something fantastic, something that stays with you. It's to keep you paying for something. So, the article goes on to say, where does that leave more offbeat ideas and concepts that couldn't support years' worth of play? Where does it leave the single-player narrative adventure, the blockbuster genre that brought us titles such as Metal Gear Solid, Red Dead Redemption, and Mass Effect? It's a genre Sony has supported through funding the studios that make games such as The Last of Us, Spider-Man, and God of War. But Microsoft has focused its effort on cross-platform connected games, as symbolized by the mammoth Minecraft industry. Is there still room for traditional forms of narrative games on the Xbox Series X? So here's where it sort of sounded good, but then Phil Spencer has to retreat, and I don't know why he does this. I mean, I do know why he does this. I think the mantra of Microsoft is to make games that aren't really necessarily these great single-player experiences winning Games of the Year awards. First and foremost, I think they want to keep you coming back and keep you paying. And I don't like that idea because most of the great experiences that most people remember in gaming aren't those games. They're games like The Last of Us, like Ghost of Tsushima, like Horizon Zero Dawn, like Spider-Man, like Gears of War. I mean, so here's where Phil Spencer comes in. He says, I think we're probably building more of those now than we've been in the history of Xbox. He's talking about single-player focused games. So that got me excited. He also said platform holders, whether that platform is subscription or a hardware device or a store, are actively investing in new and probably more risky things because if it works, we get value out of bringing players into the ecosystem. Now here's the problem that I have. He goes on to say, the thing is, building a gigantic self-contained narrative game is riskier now than it has ever been. Now, if you remember, he said this a while ago and looked pretty foolish. He said the same thing, and that was right around the time Zelda was coming out and Horizon was coming out, and those games sold incredibly well. They brought in new customers to Sony. They sold PlayStations and Nintendos, and they spawned sequels that are carrying the audience from one hardware generation to the next. So, he goes on to say, to get a team of hundreds of developers working for several years on a project requires a budget in the hundreds of millions of dollars. And unlike an evolving game such as Sea of Thieves or No Man's Sky, you get one shot at making an impact with a narrative adventure. However, Spencer sees an opportunity in using modern platforms and technologies to test out ideas and build a community of fans before release. So this is absolutely not what I wanted to hear. You can't release games that aren't finished and then expect the community to sort of just grow around them. You have to create a world. You have to create characters and story. You have to take the time to do that. And it just seems like he consistently just says the right thing and then sort of backtracks to this, well, this is what we're going to do. This is our mantra. And we want to monetize over and over and over again. And when you focus all your creative input, I'm not talking about, doing a few things, but when you focus everything that you're doing, if your first foot forward is subscription, recurrent revenue, then you're never going to create that great narrative-driven game. You're never going to have that game winning Game of the Year. You're never going to have those characters that make a lasting impact on gamers. And this is the problem that I have when it comes to Microsoft and Xbox. They're sort of 1 foot in and 1 foot out of the tub when it comes to these type of games. And they're consistently saying what I want to hear and then backtracking. I don't understand why that is. So using Sea of Thieves and No Man's Sky as a way to sort of build a single-player narrative-driven experience, using that template, that formula, it's just not going to work. I mean, it's just not. So I don't understand why they can't just say, okay, we are going to do this. We are going to make great games. So, it just bothers me. I don't know why it bothers me. I want them to create something great that I can latch onto. And I know everybody doesn't like those kind of games, but if you're out there saying you like what they're talking about, then that's you doing the same thing I am. They have to do things for everyone, and they're not. And I want them to have that game like The Last of Us, like Ghost of Tsushima, that can be up there winning Game of the Year awards, carrying the audience from one generation to the next. That's what I'm looking for. So let me know what you think about this article. I'll link it in the description below. I appreciate you watching the video. Again, think about liking and subscribing, and I will see you in the next video.